What if 1 billion people across the world practiced emotional intelligence, or even just in Europe? Whether you are in Sweden, Spain, or Slovenia, or somewhere in Europe, come and join us for another 6 questions about 6 seconds in Austria. And please welcome today our guest, Beril Barlas, a business coach and consultant based in Vienna, Austria. Welcome, Beril.
Thank you, David. Thank you for inviting me. How are you?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here with me. And of course, we're both in Vienna. For those who don't know, I'm based in Vienna, Austria too. So we regularly meet to discuss. But I wanted to invite you today to this series, 6 questions for 6 seconds in Austria, to learn a little bit more about your experiences, of course. So before we get started, Beril, just tell us a little bit about your coaching and consulting.
Yeah, pleasure, David. So I run Beril Barlas Consulting, where I specialize in driving better business outcomes using a combination of neuroscience, emotional intelligence, and I work with leaders to improve decision-making, engagement, and team well-being through assessments and also emotional intelligence tailored interventions.
Wow.
And this can take form of assessments, coaching, workshops, mentoring, and they are all aimed at measurable improvements in leadership and business performance. And my background is in corporate in finance, so I additionally provide services on internal controls, governance, growth strategies, profit margin. So my approach is very flexible. I integrate emotional intelligence with business KPIs, ensuring a holistic view of both financial and team dynamics. Yeah,
Wow.
shortly like that.
Great. That's amazing. That's amazing, Beril. And obviously, perhaps operating in Austria, operating in other parts of the world too, with the remote world that we live in now as well. So
Yeah.
let's get into our questions. And I can also add some thoughts as we go along as we need. So the first question is, how is EQ seen in Austria?
Yes. In my experience, I have been in Austria for 4 years, and I am Turkish from Istanbul, basically. So this will be a little bit personal view, but I see it is gaining recognition gradually, and especially in a big city like Vienna. And as far as I have seen, traditionally, Austrians they value rationality and pragmatism, which is very valuable qualities. And but there is also at the same time growing awareness of importance of emotional well-being, both in personal and professional setting. So maybe AQ is still underexplored in more traditional regions, and but it is, I think, becoming more part of discussions, especially in education and mental health. And if I focus on business, then of course it is more in international companies and more progressive industries like tech and healthcare. And the traditional sectors, they are also entering slowly. And I think the companies are beginning to integrate emotional intelligence into leadership development, team engagement, and especially employee well-being together with mindfulness.
Fantastic. Yeah. I thoroughly agree. And more people are speaking about their emotions, even on a day-to-day basis. Or I did see a radio ad, a billboard that said emotion, and it was really highlighting the radio Orf Eins or something like that being a source, of course, for emotional expression, which may not have existed. I've been here nearly 10 years, but certainly a longer time ago, people weren't willing to talk about that. So that's great. Second question is, what opportunities have you had in Austria to bring EQ? So through 6 seconds or through other things that you've been doing?
Yes. So I had EQ Cafés as a network leader, some business interventions, and also I am sharing in social media, and I like to share a lot about emotional intelligence content, so a lot about 6 seconds content. And from the reactions, I still understand the concept is relatively new, but especially in the workshops, especially in one-to-one, person-to-person relationships, we don't, maybe without the name, maybe AQ name cannot be known. But when we begin to do the activities, conversations, and explore, then people see the benefits. So they see the benefits in leadership, in resilience building, intentionality, then they can relate, and then I get a better reaction. So I think in social media versus one-to-one, I think one-to-one I have a better reaction.
That's true. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And I think the EQ cafes people might be familiar with. If not, then look at our 6 Seconds events website, where Beril's cafes or other cafes around Europe are being listed. And these are free events that you can attend to really understand more about the 6 Seconds methodology. They're focused on a particular theme each time, and they could be in person or even online as well. That's great. So question number 3, Beril, is what skills or competencies of EQ do you think are most needed in Austria?
Yes, yeah, like I said before, in efficiency there are in Austria, efficiency is valuable, pragmatism is valuable, and direct communication is in the culture. Then this can bring some challenges in balancing emotional and interpersonal dynamics, and I mean both business and also everyday social interaction. So all the competencies works for everyone, of course. So this is a question to make a colorful intervention, maybe. But I can say empathy, which because it will bring in workplace, in social life, diverse perspectives, right? And in cities like Vienna, here multiculturalism is increasing, and then there are different cultures, and empathy helps us bridge between different cultures and backgrounds. So I think in both professional and social context, for better communication, to reduce misunderstanding, and encourage more connection, I think empathy is number one. Second, I would say adaptability in 6 Seconds terminology. I think this is navigating emotions. So why I think like this? Because I see rapid change in Austria, both in business environment and also social life. So navigating emotions means also navigating evolving work structures, technological advancement, and any shift in social life. So to be adaptable, then it means we should be able to navigate through emotions. Then we have smoother transitions in the work setting and also personal change. So any kind of change, navigating emotions will help us in 6 Seconds competencies. This is, I think, is the second importance. And third is, of course, the beginning of everything is self-awareness. So it is both in professional context, also in social context, like to have being awareness of to being aware of one's emotions. It will help us how we interact with each other at work, also within families, and it always builds more authentic relationships, like being awareness, having the awareness of ourselves. So this is the third one I would emphasize for Austria.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I thoroughly agree. It always starts with us, which is important. So speaking of ourselves, what is your favorite way to develop your own EQ from what you've learned and practiced? Maybe you have a particular activity you like, or a strategy that you employ regularly.
Yes, of course, so many strategies. It depends on the time. But I thought of this. If I think of this question, the first thing that comes for me the most powerful is like when I have very intense emotion, or when my mind is with so many thoughts, and at these times it is really difficult to observe yourself. Like, what do I feel? What is the name of the feeling? Because then there is so many. It's a mix of emotions, mix of thoughts. So for me, the key is always I have to remember, and sometimes I forget to remember this. It takes me some time still, but always what works best is focusing on body sensations. Why? Because our bodies are offering incredible wisdom. Because the mind sometimes they cannot process what's happening, and through pain, and we cannot solve through thinking. It's just continue to ruminate. So at this moment, what I do is paying close attention to my sensations, exactly like tightness in the chest, or like how is my breathing, or where do I feel a tension? Is it in my shoulder? Is it in my belly area? And then you begin to explore the change. Things get calmer, more cleaner, Then you have the connection between the body, emotion, and the thoughts. Then you have a clarity, and then you understand why you are overwhelmed. So this is somatic awareness, and it helps self-regulation, and it helps very much in decision making, and it gives you a great emotional balance. So grounding in the body, you shift from being reactive to reflective, and yes, so your emotions become easier to manage. This is what I find very valuable. And of course, to do this, not only body senses, mindfulness helps with this, breathing exercises help with this. All of them, depending on the person, depending on the time, one or another, they help similarly.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Good. We have question number 5. So I'd like to ask you now about what has your journey been so far with 6 Seconds? You mentioned some of the assessments and things you've done before, but also how you're applying those. So you did mention working with various businesses, but maybe you have a favorite assessment or a go-to assessment that you want to share as well.
Yes, all the process, it's a journey, the certifications themselves, and the process through when you get the certification. It is all of them leads to self-reflection, as we said, like self-awareness. And then that means you get understanding of your strengths. So I saw my strengths better. And also I deepened my sense of purpose, because in 6 seconds, the most powerful, I think most powerful, one of the most powerful competency is this purpose. And then of course I also identified areas to develop, like where are my potentials to develop, where I am more weaker, where I don't utilize much. And this also helped me to look back, reflect on my past decisions, and see myself, like with my emotional intelligence skills and past decisions, I could see a clear link between them. This helped me a lot, like a learning from past decisions. And also I can say in daily life with my family, I use it a lot, because it gives you a language, and it gives you that you can explain them sometimes with their life when they have difficulties. You have a good language to talk to them. And I like 6 seconds emotion cards very much. I play with my daughter. She loves it, like naming the faces. So we are trying to find the names. Sometimes we cannot even find, we laugh about it. But I observe she begins to talk about herself when we play this game. She begins to talk about her emotions. So I use it a lot in personal life. You ask professionally, and yes, I really like 6 seconds emotional intelligence assessment with leaders, and also performance metric or vital signs assessment, both with leaders and teams. Why? Very shortly, they help abstract qualities more tangible. They give a common language to discuss. Like, for example, we can talk about teamwork, motivation, engagement, and these assessments make this language like easier to talk. And I'll also appreciate the ability to link emotional intelligence competency to drivers of success, and then build interventions like this. Then they truly resonate with individual and the teams. And also in the coaching sessions, it is very important to use to have a idea of emotions, to be able to talk about emotions. But it is very challenging to access and express emotions for many of us. And I find emotional intelligence 6 seconds tools provide me a structured approach, so I can help individuals to connect with their emotional channels, which makes a big difference, not only talking about thoughts, but also being able to talk about your senses, emotions, so having all the information channels for yourself.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow. Great. So you're really covering a full spectrum of the community, which is really wonderful to hear, Beril. So thank you. And the last question, because as you know, we're aiming at 6 seconds. Our noble goal is to have 1 billion people practicing EQ by 2039. So what do you think the world would be like if 1 billion people practiced EQ?
Yes, it would look radically different, I think. And starting from very small, You can look from many perspectives, but first thing I think visualize is family and community, especially parenting. So I imagine emotionally intelligent parents are raising the children, and then these children, how they become, like they have empathy, they have understanding, they already have emotional awareness, and this makes them grow into adults who are more connected to their true selves. Then and they wouldn't have so much emotional wounds, and they will feel secure, valued, and empowered. Then on a larger scale, maybe in the next generation, not it won't be immediate, but then the effect would be a ripple effect, and then we would see more compassion, we would see less conflict, and we would see healthier relationships, stronger community, and most importantly, very peaceful earth, I think. And especially if I think of areas right now in the world with war, poverty, loss, like children losing their lives, losing their families, so much suffering. Instead of this, we would see more connection, empathy, and support. And of course, AQ will not solve all the global issues. I don't mean like this, but it could be a basis to begin. It will support for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you, Beril. And I know that as we're both, well, you're from Turkey, you said at the beginning. So I do like at the end of each episode to ask you to share in another language. You know, Turkey is part of the greater European borders here. There are many Turkish people living in Austria, of course, you know, through the historical times and in current times. So I'd like to ask you if you'd like to share a sort of final message in Turkish, perhaps for anyone who's watching, who's in your community, who might like to know a little bit about you or a little bit more about EQ. So if you have a final message for them, I'd love you to share that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that, David. Very, very nice. So merhaba arkadaşlarım, Viyana'da yaşayan Türk arkadaşlarım. Evet, eğer siz de bir şekilde bu konuşmayı dinlediyseniz ve merak ediyorsanız emotional intelligence ile ilgili duygusal zeka Türkçesi, duygusal zeka ile ilgili sorularınız, konuşmak istedikleriniz olursa ya da diğer konuştuğumuz konularla ilgili lütfen beni aramaktan çekinmeyin. Çok çok sevinirim. Herkese sevgiler, öpüyorum.
Wonderful. I love that. That's one of the best things I love about this series. And I can say that emotionale Intelligenz ist eine wichtige Voraussetzung für eine Entwicklung aller. Bei 6 Seconds können wir Ihnen helfen zu entdecken, wie Sie lernen, messen und Sie weiterentwickeln können. So kontaktieren Sie uns, um mehr zu erfahren. So thank you, Beril, for joining us for this series about Austria. I wish you well.
Thank
And we'll
you,
see you
David.
soon. Thanks for watching this episode of 6 Questions for 6 Seconds In, and where will we be next time?